nonverbal messages are you sending your viewer from your Zoom room? What does a messy desk or a bed behind you or a flushing toilet say to the viewer when you're on Zoom with them? Think this stuff isn't important and that nobody cares? I'm going to urge you to think again. These nonverbal messages are like actions that speak louder than words. And what it says about you is that as a professional, you kind of aren't sure about that line between what's professional and what needs to stay personal. So today in the Waist Up Wardrobe Studio, if you're serious about your virtual office, you need to tune in today. And if you don't want to send those inadvertent nonverbal messages that really aren't professional, you need to join us today for our conversation with a high performance coach who's going to share with us everything we need to know about how to wow your audience, how to make those really impactful connections, and how to stay connected to your audience at this time, especially when we're navigating this really wild year of 2020, where everybody is in the storm, right? But is in a different boat. And how we can really take care of ourselves and be professional with our viewers and tie all of that really important stuff about home, personal, and work together. But you know the drill. If you want to hear everything she has to say, you're going to have to tune in to find out. Welcome to Waist Up Wardrobe. I'm Christine Vartanian, a civil engineer and attorney turned personal style expert and image consultant. As the founder of Jade for All Seasons, I am passionate about unveiling the inner confidence of my clients by developing their personal style. But is getting dressed up still important in our virtual world? Well, that's where my experience can help with what I call Waist Up Wardrobe. Waist Up Wardrobe is a podcast for all things you need to conduct an outstanding Zoom meeting. It's about how to dress for the camera, but it's not just about the clothes. It's about everything you need to know to show up on brand and professionally for the camera. Join me in the Waist Up Wardrobe Studio to discuss how to navigate this virtual world and dominate from behind the desk. Hi, Virtual Nation. Here we are again in the Waist Up Wardrobe Studio for another really dynamic conversation about how to navigate this virtual world. And today is a really special episode, as they all are, but today we have a really special guest in the Waist Up Wardrobe Studio. As you know, Waist Up Wardrobe is not just about the clothes. It's about everything that we're dealing with in the virtual world. It has everything to do with your image and the way you show up, your self-care, your emotions when you show up on camera, how you interact with your audience. Really, it is a full service, podcast. Waist Up Wardrobe is on how to really show up body, mind, and soul. And today is an episode where we're going to cover a lot of those areas. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you to my very awesome producer that is always here, always running the show, Rick Moscoso, who really is the wind beneath the wings of the show and Waist Up Wardrobe. So thank you to him. I want to acknowledge him as we go into this next week of Thanksgiving and this month of Thanksgiving. And just really show him gratitude for everything he does for the show. I also want to show my audience gratitude. We are here to give you a lot of value today, and as we always are. And I want to really express how grateful I am that you have made this podcast so interactive, and you're helping me build this really important system of how to really show up on camera, because this is not going away. So thank you for that. The podcast of Waist Up Wardrobe is on iTunes, so you can definitely download and subscribe to the show. You can give us a review and a rating. You can obviously replay this on Facebook anytime you wish. And we always give some really great value and also a lot of giveaways that are embedded in this Facebook page. So always look out for those. We also want to remind you that this is an interactive show. We want a dialogue. We want your questions. We want to dig deep. We're all really trying to figure out how to navigate the virtual world. And everybody's insight into this and the things that they've done that have worked and the things that they haven't done that they've learned from is really valuable for the entire audience that is working from the virtual office. So please don't be shy to comment, to tell us what you're thinking, to agree or disagree, because all those things are very, very valuable. So I am going to start by bragging about my guests today. I mean, we have been so fortunate to have these amazing guests on the show. The show gets so elevated by the people that agree to come on and give out their genius and be those go-givers that, everybody right now needs. And today is no different. I have a really special guest here today, Juliann Stitick, who is a motivational speaker. She's a high performance coach and a 3-time author. Juliann partners with her clients on a daily basis and meets them where they're at and co-creates the perfect formula for personal and professional development tools to help them achieve what they really want to and really get to their genius. For the past 25 years, Juliann has worked with leaders and influencers in the entrepreneurial world, as well as executives. And listen to this, her pedigree, oh my gosh, her resume is so robust and so impressive. She's worked with leaders in Lexus, Nordstrom, Disney, Keller Williams. Her unique approach has also attracted notable Oscar and Golden Globe winner clients. Recently, Juliann took note of a real need in the marketplace, and her services have evolved into high-performance coaching for driven leaders and teams with an emphasis on effective communication and presentation skills that convert. That means that really impact businesses' bottom lines and entrepreneurs' bottom lines. Her clients consistently rave about her insightful ability to see in them what they have not yet been able to realize in themselves. What a gift that is. Juliann is in the Waist Up Wardrobe studio, so please help me welcome Juliann Stitick. Hi, Juliann. It's such a pleasure to have you here, such an honor. I know that every time I have a conversation with you, I walk away with something I put right into action because that is who you are. You are a go-giver. You always enrich and give value to people you talk to. So how are you this morning? So I can't hear you, Juliann. Yeah.
Oh my. There we go. Technology.
That's right. We are entrepreneurs. We forge forward and we just,
I'm delighted to be here and spend time with you today, Christine, and hope that really blesses others.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we have a lot to unpack today because the thing is, we're going to be definitely talking about Zoom room etiquette because that is really important. And I think right now people are still really trying to navigate that. And here's the thing. So, Waist Up Wardrobe is all about how to show up professionally on Zoom. But it's hard. I mean, it's not hard because it's hard to figure out. It's hard because life is now changed for a lot of people who are working from home. And you have sometimes factors that are out of your control. I mean, I get on Zoom for my show and for many other times, and I'm always preaching, be aware of your surroundings. Make sure you don't get interrupted by the dog or the kids, but then the gardener shows up, right? So it's really hard to really control everything in your environment. And it's important for everybody to give each other grace, but you do the best you can. And we have a lot to unpack today because you have so many areas of genius, really. But I really want to focus on some main categories. We want to talk about those nonverbal messages that people tend to give the viewer that can really impact them negatively. And when it impacts them negatively, it can affect the bottom line. We also want to talk about virtual presenting because I know that is an area you're very experienced at. Mm-hmm. And then I want to also talk about creating those connections with the audience, creating those authentic connections, and also how being in 2020 right now, that's become even more important, but also more difficult sometimes because we're all in this storm, right, of 2020, and we're all in different boats. So everybody's at a different level and dealing with different things, but everybody is really having a hard year and everybody needs that support. So those are sort of the main categories. There's so much. We have to have like a series of episodes with you, Juliann. That's right. So let me just start with, as a high performance coach, who helps clients with, the whole person. You really focus on all areas of the entrepreneur. Why is leveling up that virtual presence really important now that we're mostly on Zoom?
Well, because it's marketing. I mean, that's the bottom line. I look at it as that we actually have, we don't have our live conferences, but I have utilized virtual meetings to build a whole new client base during COVID. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to be creating that sense of, commercialized way of connecting with people and how to stand out. Because the truth is, we have so many opportunities to use our individual surroundings to create an experience for people, for them to step into a different space, for them to see something that calms them, right? So this idea around ramping things up is like, it's your personal brand. It's how people are perceiving you. And there's some real benefit to how that's working.
Absolutely. And I always tell my clients, your set, even your set is like a billboard for your brand. It's a connection of you. There's so many things that go into showing up on camera and being present, and so many things that, can go wrong. Now, there's, of course, those things that are out of your control that can go wrong, but then there's also those things in your control. So I'm going to ask you, because this is, interesting. I get different answers from different people on this. What's the biggest faux pas or mistake that you've seen high-level professionals really do on camera that, struck you as like, wow,
Can I give you two?
Oh, please.
Okay.
Yes.
So one of them is me. And so I'll tell on myself, but we were in a group session, and one of the women that was sitting in the session, her son's girlfriend walked behind her wearing nothing but a short t-shirt and a thong.
Oh my God.
And so that was like, oh, right, that's the one that goes down in the history book. Just this week, I just got back from being out of town. And so I've packed my week a little tighter than I usually do. And so I didn't get a chance to eat, and I was hungry, and I was like, okay, I got to be on in like 1 minute. And so I scooped a big scoop of Mazithra Italian cheese blend into my mouth, and it's like really chewy. And I was literally going, oh my God, I can't go on right now because I know I've got it in my teeth right now. So there you go.
Well, see, this is the thing that I love about the virtual world, is that we really all have been a victim for this, because sometimes, because this is so new, we're all navigating through this. Many of us used to work virtually, but not to this degree where we were really on camera, 6, 7, 8 hours a day. So I think that totally takes it to a different level, because, you still have to eat, you still have to do the regular things that you wouldn't normally do, in a traditional working world. So that's where it gets, we get a little bit like we forget. We almost become unaware. It's easy to do that. Sometimes people will show up late on camera. This is some of the things I want to share. They'll show up late on camera, which is, that's kind of, I feel like that is a basic etiquette thing, right? Yeah. But then also when they show up late, then they start apologizing for it. So instead of doing that, what do you suggest they would do?
Oh my gosh. If somebody shows up late, just, okay. My dad, sit down, be quiet, and participate.
Exactly.
So I've always felt that way about events. I think that people showing up late is a level of what their commitment is to it. And it's not about being rigid, but it's really about being courteous to other people that are there and show up on time. So, I think that's a very big piece of the puzzle. I'd love to add to that piece of the puzzle, when you do get there, that you have taken 5 minutes to get settled and take a deep breath and ask yourself, what kind of presence am I putting out there? Because you could have the right outfit on, you could, be whatever, you shave, whatever, But if you're showing up and you're like, you're trying to, like get things to work and you're unorganized and you're fidgeting, that's another thing, like a lot of moving around and fidgeting. It's people holding the phone up to their ear, having a phone conversation while they're on mute. So it's not professional, and things come up, but I think that we could learn to just up level our politeness and just doing things just to be in service of the group as a whole.
Yes, absolutely. And I think too that people think it's not a big deal. Oh, let me just take this call. I mean, you wouldn't do that if you're sitting in a conference room, a traditional conference room. Mm-hmm. Or, let me go off camera, which sometimes I guess there's a reason to do that. But
absolutely.
Right. There's always exceptions to the guidelines. But it really boils down to what do you want the viewer to perceive about you?
Right.
If you have a messy desk, that says something about you, right? Yeah. We had a conversation last week with a business recruiter, somebody who really preps people for interviews and seeks out and preps interviewers for candidates. And she said that you have to pay attention to this stuff because future bosses they'll make judgments on you based on if you have a messy office. What does that say about you? Don't you agree?
Absolutely. I would absolutely agree. And I'm not saying everybody needs to be like super obsessive or anything like that about it. But I think that it's again, I think it's just about being polite, honestly. Yeah. I think that's what it all just comes back to.
Right. Yeah. And I think that, you are when you're now in the virtual world, we're being assessed, especially if you're in for an interview or you're talking to a professional, right? We're being assessed on how everything that's showing up in this box.
Yeah, most definitely. So what I'd love to if I could kind of piggyback something on this is that when there's so much of it that can be, I'm going to go back to that word commercialized, and I definitely say it with air quotes, but at the same time, there's a level of authenticity that needs to come through. And here's an opportunity that we have is, what if you just decided that you were going to step up to this next level version of yourself, and through this opportunity to have a control over a lot of the surroundings of how it is that you show up, that you invest in that piece of the puzzle, and play the part of your next version.
I love that.
So it's like you're building a show about yourself. You're building a show about your journey, and to just grab those things that it is that you want next in your life and go, okay, I'm going to just play the part of that person. How would that person do things?
Yeah, that's great. That's the coach in you. Yeah.
I couldn't help it.
Right. No, I love that. So let's clarify that a little bit for the audience. Okay. So can you whittle that down into maybe like just 2 bullet points or a couple bullet points that can clarify somebody how they would actually think about that or do that?
Right. So it's really like we're all on this like little fine-tuning journey, right? And we're working on our inside and we're working on our outsides. And I think it really comes down to, dreaming, looking into the future and going, who am I? And being willing to look inside more and go, who am I? And then how does that person live? And to begin to start playing the part of that person, not just when they're online, but in their own life. And it's a real win-win opportunity. So it's, who do I want to be? Because every single choice that we make about how we show up online or how we have conversations, or when it really comes from individual choices, little baby individual choices of going, do I choose to look at it this way or do I choose to look at it this way?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And all of those little things of to be maybe just to go, you know what, I am going to be studying for a part. I'm going to be playing in a movie and now I need to start acting that part.
Yeah. That is such great advice. Now, I want this to be really clear for somebody who wants to put this into practice. Okay. So it's almost like you are writing the script for this movie,
Yes.
right?
Okay. I get where you're going. So
Yeah.
I think it comes down to, if we want to do that, it's like, okay, first we need to do a character build out. Like and I might not have even used the right term, but you know, they put together a character profile. Well, what does this character's profile look like? If you were going to write a part, you know, what do you value? What are your top 5 values? How is it that people see you at your best? Reach out to 5 people. This was an exercise I always did with personal branding clients. Reach out to 5 people, send them an email, let them know that you're creating a character for yourself and that you want to know in 5 adjectives, give me 5 adjectives that describe the way that you see me. And not your mother or your best friend that you're looking over her shoulder or his shoulder, but people that are more acquaintance, right?
Yeah.
People that you respect and admire. And then they come back with that language and you're able to say, oh, I see all these little common threads. She's very driven. She's very, loving. She's very strategic. He's very creative. Like, where do we pull those pieces together? And then you write that list.
Yeah. And that's really, that's actually a really powerful tool.
Right. And how does this person dress?
Right.
And what is this person's health habits? And where is this person contributing in the world? And what is this person's attitude like? Right. So you write that part and then you just start acting it.
Yeah. And once you have this idea or dream about yourself, or really who you want to be and who you are, it's kind of like a mesh of those things. Then any decision you're faced with, as long as it aligns with those things that you see yourself being, or then you're you can make decisions pretty easily. Right.
You can act based on that part.
Yeah.
So here's the interesting thing as it relates to a little bit of science behind this, is that one of the ways that hypnosis works is there's a level at a point in time where there is a confusion for the brain that puts the brain off kilter. And then the subconscious, who is the autopilot, is much more receptive to messages, right? So what's interesting is right now, with everything that's going on in our lives out there, everything's like shaky right now. So we're in a state of confusion, which means that we now have an opportunity to start embedding some very, very strong practices, routines that are going to stick in the autopilot, because this part of the brain is the like when it comes to exercise, like elevating how you're seen there. But that if those routines are going into place right now, they're going to end up in that autopilot rather than that self-control, that I'm going to do it this way by growing and bearing it. And so all of these things, all of these practices that this person way out there would do are all come back to how it is that you're perceived by other people, so that then when they meet you in person, they're meeting that next level person of you.
Yeah. And so you're talking here about really taking the opportunity of things getting shaken up, during 2020. For everybody, it's different. But definitely everybody's gotten shaken up, to recalibrate, right? Which is sort of the name of your company: recalibrating, resetting, recalibrating, recharging, and taking taking it as an opportunity to do all that. but also how all that informs everything you're putting out there, whether it be connecting with family and friends or connecting with potential clients, whether you do it on camera or by phone. Really, you are resetting so that you can effectively do all that. Right. And just kind of back to our, that sort of the nonverbal messages and how that ties in, right? So when we're on camera with a potential client or, even another business owner, we really want to allow them to see like who we are, but we don't want it to look manufactured, right? Because we're working so hard at showing up right, but we also want to be authentic. So I think that's the conflict, right? Because we want to make sure. Yeah, go ahead.
That's so interesting because it's like, I see like just showing up, being yourself is the best charisma advice there is.
Right.
Just to come and be yourself. I mean, yeah, there's like pieces that you need to polish, but then you need to settle in what kind of an energy do I want to be putting out there? And that is a very big topic, Christine. It's because so much of that the nonverbal. So that's what we're talking about here is the nonverbals. I'm going to encourage everybody to, the next time that they are on screen and there's a group of people and you're talking and you're listening, I want you to be looking at yourself in the screen, because you're going to see what your expressions are and how other people are seeing those expressions. Because see, for me, I'm the kind of person that if I'm really focused in on what somebody's saying, my natural tendency in the past was to scowl a little bit. I was really focused on them, right? So that might be something that other people might perceive as being a scowl. So, but you have to be able to see how it is that you're showing up. And, for me, I know that the best way for me to show up is to make eye contact with that camera, which you guys were like giving me the, you got to look at the camera. But the truth is, I love your idea of like something that's drawing your attention up there, or you covering the screen. But we have to be able to see how we're showing up. And so I learned that the best way for me to show up is to smile and look into the camera and really look into the camera as if I'm imagining being at lunch with you and just, hanging out with you.
I know. Isn't that's what we decided to do? We're just having lunch together and talking about all those really great takeaways that we can get from you, Juliann. I mean, I really feel so privileged that you're here because there's so much really that so many people can get so much benefit from, especially at this time that's very challenging for people. And what I love about what you do is how you look at your clients or really anybody you're talking to as the whole person, right? There's that taking care of yourself so that you are better able to take care of those around you and take care of your business, which is so important. I don't think enough people understand that the number one thing to do in business is to take care of yourself so that you could output and give as much as you possibly can, right? Tell us a little bit more about that, because that is so important in whatever you're doing.
Here's how I see that, and I think it's important to talk about why it has always been such a passion of mine, and I think that there's going to be some things that might be touched the details might be different, but that people might be able to relate. As a kid, I was sexually abused by a distant family member, and what that did is that made me disconnect from my body. Okay. And so I've always had to work really hard at being connected to my body. And that piece is like, okay, how am I going to create a system to help me get connected in with my body? And what I've found is that so many of the people that I coach and circles that I run in, is that we're so disconnected from our bodies and allowing ourselves to feel feelings and feel like it's okay for us to be having a little bit of a hard time right now, right? That the work that I do with people is like, it's an exercise that I actually do before I go on to any podcasts or anything. If I'm speaking, I have major rituals getting ready to do it. I dance, I stretch, I listen to a song that lights up my soul, like listening to Cello by Hauser. And I open up my body physically, getting all of this open. In fact, I'm just going to encourage everybody to just do that. Just open up your chest and put your shoulders in your back pockets and sit up super, super straight and lift your chin just a little bit. Just allow that to shine, that part of you. And it's so getting in touch with body and breathing and actually sound, and going to that place of like, my intention is to use whatever tools I have to be able to share things that I think are going to help people to be happier and feel better about themselves.
Well, here we are getting some instruction on how to really center yourself and to feel grounded.
Love it.
Yes.
See what happens. See, this is the thing. And listen, I do this because I used to do this. So let me just say that, okay? Is that I was like so worried about, well, what am I going to say? And what's the format going to be? And all of that stuff, that I need to plug into the operations of my life, the operations of my business. It's literally like a cog in a wheel.
Yeah.
Okay? And so I plug into that. I need to do some things. I need to get my energy up. I need to drink water. I need to spritz my face so it looks as moist as possible. I have essential oils going. So all of those things help me get settled.
Yeah. I think that is if nobody takes anything from this today, I hope they take away this piece, that whole body mind connection, and really how important that is. I remember for years, I used to tell my husband, who's a dentist, I used to tell him, your main asset is your person, is your body. You have to take care of that. That means your health, your exercise, your physical exercise.
Like, so you actually really motivate me. Oh my God, Christine's out there doing it. I can get up and do it too.
Well, we motivate each other, don't we? I think that's the wonderful thing about surrounding yourself with entrepreneurs who understand that, right?
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Power. Here's another thing is that, like, I'm always about how can I make everything as efficient as possible, right? So I just I have music on, I have dance time. And during that time, I am pretending like I'm a ballerina. I'm pretending like I'm a modern dancer. I'm letting that go and loosening up. And then I'm getting exercise at the same time, and it's elevating my mood, and I'm getting ready for a presentation, and oh, my back hurts a little right now. Let me take a moment to stretch it. But it's back in touch with the body again.
Yeah.
It's the breathing, it's the meditating, it's the leaders. What I've noticed is that leaders during this COVID thing decided to dig in, and I'm going to be a positive influence. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be resilient. I'm going to be that to help lift people up. And that catches up after a while.
Yeah.
I know that it did with me. So it was like, oh, I need a reminder again. I need another fuel injection into caring for self. Because we've got all these new patterns that are getting created in our lives, and so much of it's out of our control. But there's so much that we have control over right now, and the good news is, so much of it is what's going to make us show up better online.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what makes us all be able to really inspire each other, right? It's those leaders that really stepped up. I have to say, when everything happened in 2020, I wanted to kind of wait it out. And if I would have waited it out, I would have been waiting a long time, right? But something, clicked in my mind that said, no, I'm not going to do that. It was like my first reaction, but I was like, I'm a leader. I'm a mother. I have so many responsibilities. So many people depend on me. I'm going to, press on. And I got to pivot, and I got to create Waist Up Wardrobe. And
it's so great.
Yeah.
Christine, it's such a great show.
Well, I appreciate that. So, I think that really this year has really shown people how much they're capable of, but also we've become such innovators. We've become so creative, right? In how we do things. So one of them is just having this platform of a virtual platform. Yeah. There's people that I had to coach on make it easy for them to go on virtually. They thought they could never be a virtual business.
Right.
And I'm sure you've run into that, right? I mean, as a coach.
Oh,
so sure. Actually right here, I know that you will have a lot of light to shed on this, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but I know that you'll have really good information to give us. Yeah. If you could, do you have like a case study or an example of somebody who really was really going to fall apart as a business owner? And then with obviously with your guidance and with a little bit of courage that you were able to bring out of them, really decided to pivot and actually came out on top. Do you have an example of somebody like that?
Absolutely. I have a client that hired me. This has been interesting. The people that have hired me during COVID are a whole different breed.
Yes.
Very, very interesting. And the results that we're getting are like wonderful. So one woman hired me right when COVID started, and she was not doing well in a lot of different areas of her life. And she has transformed. She has lost a tremendous amount of weight. She cut alcohol out of her life. She has started a brand new business that's already thriving, and she's already a leader with her company. And this has all been during COVID. But it really, what it was, so much of it. And I think that we all need this right now. And so go to your loved ones for it, ask for it, give it as much as you can. People need encouragement. They need someone to believe in them. They need someone to tell them that they're doing a good job.
Absolutely.
It's like, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
This year doesn't look like you thought it was going to, and you're okay.
Right.
Right.
No, I think that's what people need more than anything, really. They need somebody to believe in them. They need somebody to believe in and give them positivity, especially if they tend to be not as optimistic as others. I mean, that's why I say we're in a big storm and everybody's in a different boat. Everybody has a different capacity.
Yes.
Right.
And that's.
Oh, I lost your voice for a second.
Okay. Is it working?
Yep.
Okay, good. Sorry. My mic just fell.
That's okay.
Joe and I just got back from Mexico. We were there for 8 days and had the most amazing time. But the people that we met there, it's like, it became so much more real that we're all going through the same thing. We were talking with them. I was practicing my Spanish, and we were talking about, like, how is this impacting you and what has happened? And I learned so much from the Mexican culture during this time, is that these people that have absolutely, barely anything, that are out diving for clams, collecting clams, and making practically nothing, that they're okay, and they're happy, and they're celebrating, and they're spending time in nature, and they're not spending all their time on their cell phones. They're not watching the news. They are surrounding themselves with community and nature.
Yeah.
And it really was I believe in that, and I value that very, very much, all of those things. And it was an uptick for me. It was a recalibration for me to take that a step further.
Yeah. Even as the high performance coach, don't you find it remarkable how you also learn from your clients or from others on elevating it?
I'm a student first and foremost.
Absolutely.
I love to learn about people and what they do and why they do it, and what that's very, very important to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As in your work as a coach and having shifted to this virtual reality that we're in,
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had to advise clients on how to be virtual presenters, like how to, they used to be in a boardroom presenting. It used to be really easy for them because they're used to it, but they had to shift, right? Some people decided they didn't want to do it anymore. They're like, oh, we'll wait it out. But then I'm sure for those that you were coaching, you're encouraging them to know. All you have to do is do it virtually, and this is how you do it, and you can do it. So can you tell us, give us some tips on how you've made that shift or help people with that shift a little bit in your practice?
Sure. So like, what presentation skills, is that what you're asking? Like,
well, I guess what I'm asking is, if you were faced with a client that was used to presenting live,
right,
but now they can't do that anymore, what tips did you give them so that they can work up the courage or the confidence to think that they can do it, and what advice, technical advice, is there?
Okay, so if most people that are speaking on stage are like very easy to jump straight into the video. I think it's really more the people that have always been like, I'm the business owner, I'm the behind the scene person, I don't like to be out there. I'm uncomfortable, in how I look. I'm behind the scenes. And that's where it's been a little bit more of a challenge. But I think that when people are able to put it in the box or the compartment of what I'm doing, like actually, putting myself together, showing up polished, being intentional, planning in advance, being prepared, like really prepared to use this as an opportunity to be visible. Mm-hmm. So I think it's the concern is, it's like people they're the people that are like, yeah, I don't like it to be about me. But the truth is, we're in business to do things for people, to help them have their lives be better, to make the world a better place. And when that's the case, it's our responsibility as the leader, as that business owner, to be that most valuable marketing asset in your business. It's just learn to be the best version of yourself, rather than what other people or your preconceived notions or life's experiences told you you're supposed to be.
Exactly.
And I'd rather have somebody show up with no makeup, hair messy, the whole kit and caboodle, but I want to make sure that I'm like actually connecting with that person. It's not just like, here's my facade,
right?
Because that's not what we want.
Well, exactly. And going back to some of the things that we were talking about is, showing up on camera professionally is really, really important. And that goes back to all those things you mentioned, like hair, makeup, dressing, your set, all that. But your authenticity and who you really are trumps everything, right? That is most important, that you show up yourself. And so that's the conflict, right? When you're trying to really give this great impression on camera, you want to make sure that you're being authentically you. This is the conflict of Waist Up Wardrobe, right? Because we want to really help people up level, but we also want to make sure that they understand that the core, the foundation, is what's inside here.
Yes.
Right?
Oh my God, yes. Yeah. So that's the deal, is that the confidence, and can we start talking about charisma right now?
Oh, absolutely. That was where I was going to take you next. Confidence and charisma, because let me just preempt that, or just set it up for everybody here, is that, the whole idea is we want to connect, right? It's that inside part that we're trying to talk about right now, where we want to connect with the audience. And to do that, we have to have that authenticity. We have to have that engaging ability. And part of it is charisma. So you have the floor on charisma.
Oh, goody. I love charisma. It's interesting. Charisma is, everybody has a definition about what charisma is. So like your typical definition of charisma is, somebody that is outgoing, like that. I hear that a lot. Or that, that they like have this real shine or sparkle around them. Okay. So the idea is that people make a definition of what charisma is, like the first time that somebody says the word charisma to them and they recognize what it is. Oh, such and such has charisma. Well, for the rest of their lives, they're going to tie charisma to what that person was like. And so they think they're not charismatic. And the truth is, we all have charisma, all of us. And it's only when we allow ourselves to be the whole of who we are. One of the things that Les Brown, I know the gentleman. He's a wonderful man. And he actually came up to me after he met me and said, I don't know who you are, but you have a lot of charisma. And then he, on the spot, did a testimonial for me. Now, the charisma comes out with me when I'm acting like a 5-year-old, when I'm a little, feisty and, willing to allow myself to have a little spunk and some fire. And that's when my charisma comes out. And that's me. That's just me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when we were talking about, like, go back to those people that you're going to reach out to and ask for 5 adjectives of how it is that they perceive you, and take that to heart.
Yeah.
Right. And then you get to learn how to really tap into your charisma.
Yeah, absolutely. And charisma, like you said, is different for different people. Different people are charismatic on different levels. Some people have dry humor. Some people, have very out there humor. So it's really interesting, that definition of charisma. But here's the thing. The camera oftentimes does this funny thing with people. People could be amazing speakers on stage, and they could be amazing speakers in a group, but you put a camera in front of them and it almost changes things. And sometimes they freeze on camera and they can't really express who they are. So it's important to keep people engaged. So how do you help people who are having a hard time really being charismatic in themselves on camera? Really, what advice do you give them to get there?
This is good. I love this. So the truth of the matter is, people that are really good on a stage and in live settings is because they just love the interaction of the other people. They use it. They need that, like, that juice that they get from facial expressions and movement and sound and all of the senses. And we're trading that for a computer screen, right? Right. So it's a very different experience. And so, like, for me, it goes back to getting into my head before I get on. I'm going to play make believe. And I'm going to play make believe that there's an audience sitting out there, and I'm going to picture them, and I'm going to move the pieces and parts the way that I need them to be moved within that audience in order for the presentation to be powerful and to be able to be connective. So when I look in the screen, I'm always looking at a person.
Yeah.
I just pretend that, I think of somebody that I love.
Yeah.
And I look in the screen.
Yeah, that's really good advice. It's good advice to kind of focus on something when you're having a hard time with the camera. But I have to say, I'm not going to lie, it is a hard thing to do. It takes, I believe that.
Well, if you keep saying that, it will be.
Right,
So
yeah.
But it begins with stop saying, I hate being on camera, because like we both hear it. And you know what? I'm really comfortable on camera. I don't particularly enjoy going on, honestly. I mean, what I mean by that is it's once I get on, I'm great.
Yeah.
Right? Do you get what I'm saying though?
Yeah.
But what I think is like, I have that in
the charisma.
I have that, but I have that introvert too.
Yeah.
Right. I have that very much that introvert. So I get it too. I feel it too.
Well, I think the whole introvert extrovert, contrast is like even extroverts need that quiet time to recharge, recalibrate, reset. So even though people might be extroverts, they can't be extroverts all the time. It's just too much energy to expend without recharging. So I completely understand that being I think outwardly I get labeled an extrovert myself, but I really value my alone time. And that's part of my self-care.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is to help people, because I know a lot of people feel self-conscious, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I remember one day I was probably about maybe 15 years ago. And I was with someone who I know very well. And I sat down, I walked across the room and I sat down and I said, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. I've got 2 different socks on. And he said to me that he goes, don't worry about it. Nobody's paying attention to what color socks you're wearing. They're all thinking about themselves. So it was so interesting that most people, when they show up, they're all concerned about like, well, do I look right? And do I sound right? And all of those pieces of the puzzle. And they're making it about them.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if we can step into, how can I make this experience be about you? How can I bring an experience that's going to make you have a better day?
That is so critical in really everything we do. I think we forget that, it's like in a conversation, a regular conversation, when you're talking to somebody and getting to know them, talk less about yourself, be more curious about them. That is that basic premise of really connecting with people. Really, people want to hear them talk about themselves. They don't want to hear about you. And so that's a really interesting thing. And what I love about the way our conversation has gone today, Juliann, is that we started out talking about something very concrete, right? Some things that are easy to fix, like be aware of your surroundings. Don't show up in your bedroom teleconferencing with a professional. Right? Don't do that, right? Don't flush a toilet when you're teleconferencing with students or
behind the screen in your thong.
But those are easy fixes. And at Waist Up Wardrobe, as the host of Waist Up Wardrobe, I'm really trying to create that playbook, that etiquette book, if you will, the guidelines of how to present yourself in the new virtual world that is not going away. But it's more than just about the clothes, and it's more than just about how to act and how to decorate your background. It's a lot about what's inside. And
it begins with what's inside.
Absolutely.
All this stuff out here is just the commercial paste.
Right.
All of it. and really what it comes down to isn't it's like, we're not just preparing for videos. We're preparing for life.
Yep. Yep.
Like, we're really showing up for life. One of the things I've noticed is when I'm out and about right now, they literally look terrible. Nobody's putting themselves together, literally nobody. And I just decided that for my own, because I was starting to do some of that too. I was just like, when I go out, I am going to just show up like Princess Diana when I go out, so again, it's playing a part, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like those kinds of steps, they're going to change your business. Your sales increase. They've done studies that your sales increase if you really put yourself together for your sales calls.
Yeah.
Your daily calls, anything that you're doing. But then, I mean, Christine, maybe we should do an episode where we show up with no makeup on.
Yes, I know.
In our pajamas.
Well, I'm wearing pajamas waist down. No, I'm kidding. But that's what this whole show is about. But just to reiterate, that playbook, right? I'm trying to really create that playbook on what's the gold standard for showing up on camera, not from physically, but also right now, our conversation took us into the core, right? Building out that core. And that's another really important, critical part of Waist Up Wardrobe. I mean, that's why we had a yoga expert on one episode giving us how to really stay physically comfortable. That's why we did an episode on emotional well-being when you're staring at a camera for 8 hours. And that's why you're here today. I really feel like nothing happens by accident, that you are here to show our audience how to center themselves. The conversation started with, the obvious, but then it really dug deep. And that's what I love about our conversations, Juliann. This is why I love, having this conversation with you, because you're so insightful to the why. And I'm just going to go back really quickly. I know we had that lunch together once, and you had just launched your book. Remind me, I know it had the word purpose in it.
It's Purpose Crisis. And then it's Stop the Inner Struggle, Find Your Life's Meaning, and Reveal the Magnificent You.
Yes. And you told me, we were talking about our whys, because every entrepreneur talks about their whys. But was really insightful for me in that conversation was that you said most people who start businesses, they have a why. But really, I help my clients dig deeper to find out what the why is behind their why.
Right.
And I know that sounds a little bit nebulous, but we can give an example as we're wrapping up here. But the thing is, that was so precisely, it actually kind of was very enlightening to me, because I kept thinking, why do I do what I do? It's not just about the clothes. So I'm not going to give my example. I'm going to have you give us an example to a really clear why behind a why.
Yes, absolutely. So the why of your why is a very personal story or experience that was the impetus to your why.
Yeah.
Why is that? What happened to you? What experience did you have? And so when you're able to go back to that experience of like, how can I advocate out of that experience, that it brings about strength.
Yeah.
And it brings about fire on those days when we just want to watch Netflix all day long. I mean, but trust me, I mean, there's like those days that there's an afternoon that I'll go, you know what, I'm shutting down for the rest of the day because I need more self-care.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So why of the why is what keeps the juice going. And when you can always be in that mindset, then you're just doing your life's purpose.
Absolutely. So I'm going to share the why to my why, because I think it will help the audience understand what that means. Because you and I understand it, because I've learned that from you, and you've given me examples in the past. And I was a little hesitant to share this because sometimes you get very vulnerable when you go, why?
Just do it.
Oh yeah. Well, we're being authentic here, right? So my why in my overarching business, Jade for All Seasons, was always about, I felt women do so much. They do all day long, and they wear so many hats, and they really deserve to have the resources for them to self-care. And the easiest way to uplift yourself emotionally is to get dressed up in the morning, and then you feel like you could take on the day. It totally elevates your mood when you put on a nice outfit and you feel like $1 million. And I wanted to be that fairy godmother, if you will, for my clients, where I would make them really feel up-leveled in their image. And I kept thinking, that's my why. That is my why. My why is to elevate other women and be an uplifter. But then you asked me, what was the why to the why, Christine? And I said, I never thought about that. But as I thought about it, and I remember telling you, I think I did tell you, but I wasn't sure, but I don't know if you remember. But my why to my why, I think I realized, is that my mom was always, she's a wonderful mother. And I grew up always watching her sacrifice for others and not self-caring enough for herself. Like, I always thought, boy, I wish you'd self-care a little bit more for yourself. I wish you would take care of yourself a little bit more. And I think that is really what gave rise to my love to nurture my clients and really show them that self-care is so important, and that image is such a part of self-care. Does that make sense?
It is. It is. And the other piece of the puzzle, it totally makes sense. And I do remember that now that you're saying it.
Yeah.
That, it's what you're passing on. It's literally like, I'm going to break a cycle.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I love that it's our opportunity to break cycles, really, is what a purpose is.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what wrong do you want to right? Or what hurt do you want to heal for other people? Something that you experienced or somebody very close to you experienced it.
Yeah.
And the point is not to judge it. The point is to embrace it and use it and thank it for giving you that fuel to do the why, so that then you get to just take all your beautiful gifts and plug them right in and help people.
Absolutely. So I can't imagine that during our conversation this has happened, but have I forgotten to ask you an essential question that you must be telling the audience before we wrap up with our Waist Up Wardrobe Weekly wrap up?
Yes. Okay. One more thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is another thing that I do to get ready, is I warm up my voice. I warm up my vocal cords.
Yeah.
As if I'm warming up to sing, because stress and the tone and the sound of your voice is very, very, it's very subtle, but it's very easy to detect. And the more that we can just again, get in touch with the body, release that vocal cord, you sound better. Your voice is actually more pleasant to listen to. And it's good for you.
Yeah, no, actually we had an episode with Molly Mahoney. I know you're familiar with her, and she talked to us about that, because one of my problems is sometimes when I'm talking, I don't articulate as well because I'm so excited about what I'm going to say. So I tend to not articulate well. And she said these voice exercises are really good for that, and it's really good if you're presenting.
I love it.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up. And I know you have a special offer or a gift for our audience today and everybody who listens to the replay. Can you share what that is?
Absolutely. So I have 20 tips and resources to look, feel, and sound your most confident for virtual meetings. And I think you guys are going to put the link up.
Yes, we are.
You can get a download, and I share all kinds of resources and more of the kinds of tips that I shared today. So it's a really great, and then, if you don't want to be on the list, just unsubscribe. But the idea is that, to be able to take that and print it out and have it sitting next to you, because it will be a reminder to you of a number of different things too.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be a treasure of information. And so for our viewers or people listening on replay that want this, put into the chat box #perform and shine, because you really you really do not want to miss out on having this tool, this guide. So thank you for sharing that, Juliann. Really appreciate that. I also want to wrap up with the Waist Up Wardrobe weekly wrap up. And what that is I want you as our guest to tell us what one major takeaway today, one overarching thing that if people walk away with nothing else, that's what they walk away with. What would that be? I mean, there's a lot, right?
Oh my gosh, there's so many things, but I just want to like filter down to what I think is the most important thing is that you are here for a very special purpose. You have been given a set of gifts. Many of those gifts have been life experiences that have shaped you. And you have the ability and the power to utilize those things to make the world a better place. And when you tap into that and you hold on to that and you have that be your intention, that is how you are going to be the most fulfilled. That is how you're going to be the most charismatic. And that is how you're going to be able to help other people. Because everyone, no matter who they are, has something really special that can make the world a better place. And I think that the more that we can live from that place, that I think that that's really what's going to change the world.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really, I hope that the audience really sits with that and thinks about that a little bit more deeply, because it's a really important thought. And it's important for us to realize that now, especially now that we aren't sure where we're going, or, and 2020 has been pretty rocky for everybody, really, in a different way for everybody, but definitely rocky. Thank you for the tool that you offered in the downloadable that we get. Any tips and action items that we should have everybody focus on as they take everything that we've talked about today and start kind of deep into it?
So I'm going to encourage everybody, like right now, take out a piece of paper, like a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil or a colored pencil or a marker, whatever.
Like for real.
For reals.
Yeah.
For reals. And write down 5 things that they learned today. Okay. What stuck with you. And then take one of each of those and plug them in. And today do number 1. And tomorrow do number 2, and take the weekend off, and then do number 3. You know what I'm saying? So yes. It's like what reached out to you and touched you that you should do for yourself. And then let's just start like baby stepping them. Just get the motor going, and then that momentum builds.
Yeah, no, that is excellent. Thank you. Thank you for outlining it like that, because it just helps people focus. It's about focusing in and really diving deep. Yes. Juliann, I feel, again, I am going to repeat this, but it's so true. I feel so honored that you came on the Waist Up Wardrobe show. You are a wealth of information and inspiration, and I'm just really excited that I get to be your friend and I get to learn from you. So thank you again. And there you have it, Waist Up Wardrobe. Thank you, Juliann. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Gratitude going into Thanksgiving. Yeah. And that just brings me to what we're doing next week. Do you want to hear about it? Yes. Okay. So next week is Thanksgiving week. So we are not having our traditional show on Thursday, but that doesn't mean we're taking a week off. We are actually going to have a gratitude hour on Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving at 4:30, where we're going to kind of converge to Waist Up Wardrobe on Facebook Live. We're going to talk about gratitude. We're going to talk about, as business owners, and even if you're not a business owner, how we show gratitude now that we live in this virtual world. I am going to be bringing on other entrepreneurs who have kind of came up with plans of how to show gratitude, whether they're a B2B or a B2C business, and how they've done it and how it's been impactful, and share with us how it's impacted other people when they've shown them that kind of gratitude. I'm also going to be taking people's ideas of how else one can show gratitude now in this virtual world that can be effective, not just basically by saying thank you, because that's what we all have to do anyway, but by actual ideas that they've created to show the gratitude in the business world and in their everyday lives. So don't miss it. It's gonna be like a cocktail hour. If you want to bring your tea, bring your coffee, bring your cocktail, join us here on Waist Up Wardrobe on Facebook on Wednesday, not Thursday, but Wednesday at 4:30 live, where we're all going to come together and share everything we're grateful for, how we show gratitude, and get ideas on how to show gratitude to others. So please join us next week and bring a friend.